You're listening to hashtag No Filter with Zack Peter. That's me, your naturally platinum blonde pop culture connoisseur. I'm the reality TV junkie, self-improvement addict, and host with only the hottest tea spilled fresh all week long. Those balls have gotten you into trouble, though.
Yeah. They picked us because we're horny.
Yeah,
right.
And that's your chronic state.
24/7.
My life has changed so much that it's almost like a completely different life.
From the latest news on the Real Housewives,
I'm so happy to be here and engage with you.
deep dives into celebrity legal scandals, and unfiltered convos with your favorite stars, I've got you covered. And yes, I always keep receipts. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Oh my God, I'm excited because today's guests are some repeat guests that I am obsessed with because I love watching their TikTok, which has blown up since they've last come on the show, in addition to their podcast that I always see ranking in the charts. Please welcome back the BravBros themselves, Mr. Steele and Shooter.
What's up, everybody? Happy to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us, Zach.
How are you guys? I mean, I see Craig Conover mentioned you. Like, I always see your TikToks trending on the internet or on my phone, because TikTok's not technically on the internet, it's on the phone. But you guys are blowing up.
Yeah, I mean, it's been insane ever since pretty much since we came on last time. It's been a whirlwind the whole time. The TikTok thing, I literally, my wife was down the shore and I was really bored on a Friday night. And I was like, she kept telling me to make TikToks. And I was like, yeah, I'll get to it. I was like, you know what? I got time. So I made a TikTok. I posted it and I fell asleep. And I woke up the next day and totally forgot. Like 3 hours later, I was like, oh yeah, I should check and see how we're doing. We had like 6,000 followers like overnight.
Yeah, it was
so
pretty
it's been
great.
awesome.
The first video that Steele put up there, it was like a pretty like creative idea of like the women leaving the house, and Steele got to have his alone time so he could watch Bravo with his dog. And that kind of blew up overnight, got us 6,000 followers. And honestly, like every week we put something else out and we see like hundreds of thousands of like, I guess, watches or views. And then we have like $5,000 to $6,000 more, or 5,000 to 6,000 followers more.
I wish we had $5,000 to $6,000 more.
Yeah, take that.
All in time. So do you feel like your audience is mostly like women that are watching you because they want to hear what their husbands are thinking, or is it more, closeted BravBros that are kind of secretly watching and they want someone to kind of shoot the shit with?
It's a little bit of both, honestly. I mean, I think the demographic is mostly still women, like middle-aged women.
Yeah.
But we do bring in a pretty young audience, and we always try to shout out anytime that somebody comments, like, fellow BravBro here. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have a wife. I just watch on my own. It's so nice to find people that are like me. So we always try to highlight those people because that's what we wanted to reach originally. And obviously, we'll take all the followers and listeners that we're going to get. But for demographic wise, yeah, I mean, it is still women, and it is nice. I think they do want to know what their husbands are thinking when they watch it.
Yeah, I get to see like the analytic breakdown, and our main age group's like 28 to 35, and it's 80 to 20 women to men, I think. But I think 20% dudes is decent. But yeah, I mean, we love the interaction we get. We love all of our followers, and it's just funny. I feel bad sometimes because some of the women will comment like, "Oh, I wish my husband watched it. Like, he just makes fun of me." And I'm like, "Oh, like, I'm really sorry. Like, we'll watch it with you." But it's been a mix of kind of everybody. And like Shooter said, it's really funny when you do get like a legit BravBro that's like, "Oh my God." Like, we had one guy that literally said, like, "You guys gave me the confidence to like be comfortable with talking about Bravo and being okay with watching Bravo." And I was like, See, that's what it's all about. That's why we're here, to get all the BravBros to come out into the world and like be proud that they can watch Bravo.
Do you have any of the ladies sliding into your DMs?
No, actually. They I think because I mention my wife frequently, and Shooter mentions his fiance frequently, and like I post videos where she's in it, and they've been shockingly respectful. I actually was, that was something I was like, I wonder if that's going to happen, and it really hasn't. It's been very, very polite, actually.
That's awesome.
Yeah, sometimes we get a couple of DMs that are completely incoherent and we have no idea what it means. There was one the other night that Steele and I tried to read just during recording, and I had no idea what it was about or what it was going from, or what the end game was for the DM, what the reason was. But Yeah, I mean, we do get a lot of DMs, and it's usually just people agreeing with us or liking our stories. So it is pretty respectful. It's a very supportive community, and we love it.
That's
We
awesome.
get some comments on the TikToks that will be like, "Ooh, like who's that guy in the green shirt?" Or like, "Ooh, Shooter
Yeah.
actually got credit for my thigh tattoo in a video today." Don't worry, I said it straight. But
Oh my God, I love it. I mean, you guys have definitely built a nice little community for yourselves, and I can't wait to watch it grow. Have you guys done Ryan Bailey's show yet?
not yet. We actually talked to him a couple weeks ago, and I'm reaching out to him via email soon, and hopefully going to collab with him on that. But yeah, we have been in contact with him.
I'm gonna text him right now and tell him he's a fucking moron if he doesn't have you on.
He was, to his credit, he was very excited about the prospect of us collabing. So
Yeah.
but thank you. And while you're texting, I will also take this opportunity again to say thank you for, taking a shot on us that last time. We were pretty much nobody at that point, and that really gave us like a huge jump start to our following and our listeners and everybody. So we're super appreciative for what you did for us, and we'll never forget it.
No, the second I saw your content, I was like, of course I'm going to have them on the podcast. Like, it's such a unique perspective to have, two straight men that are in relationships that love to watch Bravo, and not just like to like watch it, but like, because I was just, I was interviewing somebody recently. So I was just at this biohacking conference, here in LA, and I was taping a few interviews, and there were like some like legit like doctors and experts that I was bringing on, and I of course made them talk about like Erica Jane and Housewives and all of that sort of stuff. And it was just funny how much they were like, well, my wife makes me watch the show, and so I kind of begrudgingly am watching it. And I'm like, it's okay, you can tell me you're a fan of Beverly Hills.
Yeah, exactly.
It's okay to come out.
Just take that next step. Take the next step and admit that you enjoy it.
Yes.
It's okay.
So what Bravo shows are you guys currently the most obsessed with? I mean, Steele, I know you're a huge Erica Jane fan.
Oh, that's changed.
Yeah, dude, my stances
Drastically.
have shifted. It has been such a roller coaster for me that I've had to question like myself. I've had to question my sanity. Like everything that's happened this season, I've been on such a whirlwind that my stances have changed. I will say my favorite Bravo show right now, honestly, is Real Girlfriends in Paris. I have been loving. I love it's, and here I think it's because it's so light. It's so not like crazy drama. It's just kind of refreshing to be like entertained for 45 minutes without like pulling my hair out. So, and I love the Paris food scene. I think all of the scenes that they do where they're cooking or like in cafes are really cool. So I'm like a sucker for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, it's Real Girlfriends in Paris it's nice and whimsical. I can't tell if I really like it or if I'm just so like downtrodden from Beverly Hills this season that seeing something that's a little more light, a little airy, a little more fun to it is just speaking to us a little louder. I'm going to go with right now for what's on TV. I'm going to say it's still Southern Charm just because I'm happy to get Steele into it because Steele didn't really watch it much before this.
Yeah.
And he's come around. Pretty much everything that I said was going to happen has happened. He's come around on Austin. He's kind of enjoyed it a little bit more. I mean, we're huge fans of Paige and Craig now, which who knew that was going to happen 4 or 5 months ago when we were on your show. So it's definitely changed things. And honestly, like maybe if you asked me before Beverly Hills, I would have said I'm excited for Beverly Hills. But now we're just waiting for it to end, and there's just something else every episode. We're like, all right, let's move on. Let's get to a different housewife show. We've got Potomac on the horizon. We've got Salt Lake City, and then we can get into the more fun shows, and we can kind of get past this and then get ready for next year. But right now, Southern Charm's still at the top for me.
Are you loving Paige's integration in the show?
Yeah, and I honestly didn't think that I would because we hated her from Summer House because we just thought that she was always kind of conniving in the background. She was never really taking her beef to a person. She was letting other people do her work for her. And we ripped her apart for that during the tail end of Summer House when we started our podcast. And now, I mean, we do something every week where we talk about the power rankings of couples in Bravo. And we have Paige and Craig at the top right now because they're just delightful to watch on TV.
They really are. Like seeing their interactions has been so refreshing to like, they genuinely seem to like each other, and there's so many relationships in Bravo where like, when they're around people, they have these blowout fights, and then like everything just seems edgy all the time and not genuine. It's like being forced, like the Shep and Taylor shit. And then you've got like all of the housewives who have shit with their husbands. So to see these two like genuinely like each other, like they actually enjoy hanging out with each other. They don't really go tit for tat. They don't fight a lot. It has been really nice to just watch that. But again, like Shooter said, that is another stance of mine that has changed. And I think a lot of it's due to the podcast. Like we sit there and discuss it so much that the stances have shifted. But I love Paige now and I love Craig. And I think that they're great. And had you asked me that 4 months ago, it would not have been that case.
Yeah.
I think they're a great couple. They're a hot couple. They genuinely like are attracted to each other, but it's not in like an over the top PDA, like aggressive in your face type of way.
Yeah.
I like them together, and I'm looking forward to Winter House. Did you guys see the trailer?
Oh,
Yes.
yes. Steele's pumped for Winter House. His boy
I'm
from
so
Vanderpump gonna be
stoked.
on there.
I know
Both
the
of them.
Toms are going to be
I
on
know.
there.
Yeah,
Yep.
the Toms, dude. I'm so pumped for the Toms.
And we get to see Schwartz going through the divorce because that was like shortly after it got announced.
Yeah.
Oh,
That'll be interesting to see on camera.
Because they're all talking about
excited
it,
to
and
see
they're all,
that.
we get to see,
I
I guess,
can't-
his reaction because they weren't filming Vanderpump until like what, a full 2 months after she filed for divorce.
Something like
it was
that. Yeah.
after, yeah.
Crazy.
But I'm excited to see. I don't know. I can't believe all the stuff that has gone on with the Vanderpump cast, like in the off season. Like when I tell you I was blown away by Raquel and like her drama, I never saw that coming. And like maybe that's now that she's distanced herself from James Kennedy a little bit, she's like free to kind of like do her thing. But I will say, I love that she's unapologetic about it. Like she came out and said, like, no, I don't regret hooking up with Schwartz, like whatever. And I
Yeah.
like it gives me OG Vanderpump vibes where like there was a lot more flirting within the group. Like we talked about it on our show. We're getting to a point with Vanderpump now. They're all getting older. They're all kind of settling down. They're having families. They're getting married. They got houses. They're not in, studio apartments with this incestual group that just like jumps from the bar scene and then hooks up with each other. So Tom being single and divorced, Raquel being single, like you get that dynamic back. And I think that that's going to make for a really, really good season. So I'm so stoked for Vanderpump.
Well, we also
Yeah,
have
not
Lala
only-
single, and we also have James in a fresh new relationship. So I feel like the dynamics and all of it have kind of changed. And I think Raquel's getting way too much shit for making out with Peter and making out with Schwartz and talking to Garcelle's son. Because for me, it's like she's single. Like when you're single, you talk to multiple people. And like, what's wrong with making out with more than one person while you're single and like trying to find out who you're going to date?
No, I don't think that. And I think that Oliver, if anything, Garcelle's son, would be more at fault for that because of all the things that he's going through with his ex-wife. Are they divorced? Are they separated? Just stay out of the tabloids. But Raquel can go and do whatever the hell she wants. She's single. Let her go live her life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's way more on Oliver for even popping up in the tabloids with all of the things that are going on with that and reflecting back on Garcelle.
I've heard some of the scoop on all of that, and it is juicy. I cannot wait for the new season of Vanderpump. I can't wait. I can't wait to see Garcelle and Lisa together as the story is kind of breaking. I heard she may have known going into that scene, and that may have been part of why they were meeting
Garcelle
together.
knew?
Yeah, that it's very likely that Garcelle had been tipped off to this information, and that's maybe part of their storyline. I'm not confirming that. I'm just saying that may be a little rumor that might be floating around on like Twitter or something somewhere. Not saying that I
take
have
it.
any direct contact with anyone. But it does look super, super juicy. And I did not like Raquel at the beginning. I was like, why is she on here? We need to get her off. She's so boring. I also hated Charlie on the show. Charlie, I think we can still get rid of. But Raquel, I think, has really kind of come into her own. And we kept her around long enough to where we saw her be a little more meek and, under James. And now we got to get to see her blossom and really come into her own.
And I think that that's going to be really fun to watch because like you said, in the beginning, she didn't do anything. She was very in the background. She just kind of seemed like she followed James around, like holding onto his coattail almost. And now I guess I'm so excited because I never knew that Raquel had it in her to be like, single and mingling. And like you said, no, who gives a shit if she's making out with multiple people? Like no one's giving Tom Schwartz shit for doing it. Like, why
Right.
is she getting shit for doing it? So yeah, do your thing. Like go out there, have some fun. Is the Oliver thing a little messy? Sure, but she's single. He's not. Like, that's his shit. So
Yeah.
to see her come into her own after a slow start, then I did end up kind of sympathizing with her because you get to know her behind the scenes a little bit. And she's a very intelligent person. She comes off as kind of spacey, but I think she's pretty smart. And she's just so sweet that I kind of wanted to work out for her. So I'm excited to see single Raquel. I think she's going to light it up.
I agree. I'm ready for single Raquel, single Schwartz. We've never really seen a single Schwartz. Or a single Katie. They've always been together since the beginning. I mean, they've had moments where they've broken up, but we've never had them fully single. We have single Lala back. I'm curious to see what that's going to look like. She said that Ocean's not going to be on the show at all this season. They just finished, I think on Fridays when they filmed the finale.
Okay.
So the season's now wrapped. And
sorry. What I was going to say is with the Lala thing, I think Lala is going to be a tornado. I think that it's going to be just no holds barred. She's going to go off the rails. Like, she hasn't been single in a while, and she was so steadfast on how good of a dude that Randall was, and she was so sticking up for him and taking that firm stance for him, that she definitely feels slighted, obviously, for the things they did to her, but also she's got to feel kind of silly for taking those firm stances and then having it all blow up in her face. So we might very well see just like unhinged Lala, where she's just like, we've seen it before, she just goes completely wild, doesn't care what she says, doesn't care who she says it to, she parties, she's just relentless. So are we going to get that Lala? Are we going to get Lala that's now a mom, so she's kind of a little bit more mellow? Like, I don't know, and I'm pumped to see that. All the single people on Vanderpump have me like all jacked up. Like, I've been waiting for that one for a while.
Yeah, and to bring it back to Winter House, I just hope that this season's a little less messy than last year. Last year was like a bomb went off. I mean, you had Lindsay just drunk trying to hook up with Austin and Sierra, all of that crap. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I guess Austin, would he be with Olivia in this timeline, or is this pre-Olivia? I think he's with her at Winter House. So hopefully that'll kind of remove him from all the Sierra drama. We'll get Craig and Paige, a little bit more of them together. Maybe they'll fight because they're in the same house for so long. And I mean, we're not going to have that whole mess of last year. Last year was a little hard to watch at times because they were just like all over the place. Luke was in the backyard building half of an igloo and not being able to finish it, and then coming back in, he wasn't really contributing. So I just hope that they have a little bit more substance to the actual show instead of it just being like a 2-week drunk fest where nothing really gets accomplished and there's nothing really good to watch on TV.
Yeah. And I do know that Luke gets thrown out of the house for making a move at Paige.
Oh.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he gets kicked out. I remember when the rumor first came out that one of the guys gets thrown out for sexual harassment, and then I kind of pieced it together in watching the trailer where we see Craig getting upset with somebody, and then they show someone packing up and leaving, and I was like, oh, piecing it together, it was clearly Luke, and it seems like it happens fairly early on in the season because we don't get much of him at all in the trailer. So interesting, but he ends up leaving the house, and I'm curious to see how that all plays out. And like, what was he thinking to think that he can make a move at Paige?
Why wouldn't he have done it like 2 years ago on Summer House when she was single and they were in the same house together?
Right?
Why would he do it now? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, Luke has always had that like fuckboy mentality.
Yeah, but he doesn't think that he
saw that go away last year. He was actually kind of pleasant to watch when he was on Summer House. They didn't really get a whole lot of screen time, I guess, because of that. And with Hannah being gone, but now is peculiar timing, that's for sure.
I'm curious to see what Lindsay and Carl bring, because it seems like that seems to shake up the house a lot too. I kind of like that they are doing that with the Toms and then with Lindsay and Carl, because it kind of adds a new dynamic every time. So then, like you said, it's not just this big drunk party fest. It's kind of the same thing that's kind of like, boring to watch after a while. It's always kind of keeping them on their toes with what house guest is going to come in next and how that's going to shift the dynamic of the group.
Okay. Wow.
How do you feel about Carl and Lindsay?
I like Carl and Lindsay. I'm happy for Carl and Lindsay. I've had Carl on this show so many times. I've had Lindsay on this show right when they first started dating, and I was like, is Carl going to be endgame? And she's like, of course Carl's endgame. Like, at this point, I'm putting all my eggs in this basket. So when I saw that they were engaged, I was like, I think this is good. They have been in each other's lives for so long. They know each other. They have built such a strong, solid friendship that I think they can actually go the distance.
Shooters, you're the big summer house guy here between you and I. So we haven't really talked about it. What's your stance on Carl and Lindsay?
I like Carl and Lindsay. I've always liked Carl and Lindsay. I mean, Carl's been kind of like bopping around. I mean, he was with Danielle for a little bit. Obviously, Lindsay, he brought some girl to the house this past summer. So I feel like he's just been kind of searching for himself through, his sobriety and after his brother passed away. So it is good to see that he's happy. And I mean, he's always loved Lindsay, but it's kind of gone from relationship to platonic back to relationship. So it's kind of back and forth. It's good for him to like take a stance on this now and for him to solidify that. I think he was just kind of waiting for Lindsay to finally get to the point where she wanted to be tied down, because I mean, we saw it last year where she was, I think every other word out of her mouth was single Lindsay Summer. This is, Lindsay Summer all the time. So it's going to be nice to not see that with her all over the place. And I think he's going to be a good rock in their relationship to kind of keep them together. And I mean, they've always had like a really good friendship, and it's always been genuinely nice to watch. So I'm happy for them. I like them.
I think so too. I like them together. I think they're going to go all the way because I think they balance each other out, right? He's sober, so she doesn't drink as much when she's with him out of respect for him. And then she is such a lightning rod that I think, she kind of pushes him out of his comfort zone a little bit and gets him to do things that maybe, he'd be a little more tame with. And I feel like they complement each other and they balance each other, and they have such a long history with each other that I can really see this going all the way.
I think so too. And I think you said it best. And that's kind of what my thoughts on the whole thing is. They just pair so well together because it's like two ends of the spectrum, but they also have a lot in common. But with Lindsay and her ability to get crazy, and sober Carl is like a different human being than old Carl. And I love watching Summer House to like watch him. I love how cool, calm, and collected he is always. And I love that everyone else is like hungover, waking up at like 9 or 10. He's out by the pool doing push-ups and like getting ready for the day. And I just think that that's the perfect dude for Lindsay. And like you said, he needs to be pulled out a little bit. And I think that she's going to do that for him. So it's like that makes sense to me as much as Craig and Paige make sense to me. I think it's all, for all of them, it's all working out.
Yeah, I agree.
Are you guys big OC fans?
Not really. I mean, obviously we kind of kept our thumb on the news and the pulse of what's going on just to at least talk about what's going on before we decide if we're really going to get into it and watch it. But I mean, we watched Ultimate Girls Trip. We have conflicting opinions on that with Vicky, and then I guess Taylor's going to OC this summer or next year.
Taylor's in OC, and then she's fighting for a full-time spot against Gina.
With Gina. Yeah. And then I don't know how that's going to go. I didn't really enjoy Taylor on TV, so I don't know if that's making me not really want to watch it too much, but we're going to kind of feel the vibe for what's going on and what shows are on and what we want to watch.
Shooter's anti every Ultimate Girl.
Really?
Just from Ultimate Girls Trip too, not from all of them, just the second one.
Why?
He's only into Phaedra.
I'm into Phaedra. Phaedra's fine. Eva was fine. And then the rest of them, I don't really need to see ever again.
Oh my God. Brandy carried that whole season. Phaedra was perfect comic relief. Dorinda was a little unwatchable. Oh my God. You guys, Dorinda DM'd me the other day.
Really?
So I did this video on Instagram Reels. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm saying this. I never talk about when housewives DM me, but it was just so funny that she came up right now. I did this Instagram Reel and TikTok about the queen passing, and I was like, what queen? I was like, Bravo fans reacted thinking that they were the queens of Bravo. So like Bethany, Nene, Vicky, who's the OG of OC, Lisa Vanderpump, whatever. So I listed off all of these like big housewives in the video. It was it was comedy, but she DM'd me and she's like, I should have been listed as one of the queens in your video.
Oh my God.
She would. That makes, like, if you asked me, guess what housewife took umbrage with not being mentioned in my video, I'd be like, oh, Dorinda. Like 100%.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
It was just funny. I was like, well, of course. I mean, I think Dorinda's in queen category now, but like, I don't like, because I mean, I couldn't fit everybody in the video, but who would you say is the queen of housewives? Who's your queen of housewives?
Oh,
This is
I
gonna
don't
be
know. This is
interesting.
gonna be this is gonna be contentious probably, but
Yeah,
I guess it
probably.
depends on what you mean. Like you can go queen being like who thinks that they're the ultimate housewife. I
Who
would
would
say
you consider the ultimate house? Who's your ultimate housewife?
mm, when I think of housewives, I still think of Teresa Giudice. Like that's the first one that comes to mind. Now,
Yeah.
do I enjoy watching her all the time? No. But when I think of housewives in general, she's first or second.
Steele?
But my queen, at least for current times, is Garcelle. I think Garcelle brings so much to Beverly
Really?
Hills when she needs it.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. I don't. I
Yeah. A couple
disagree
months ago,
1000%.
you asked me who my favorite housewife was, and I said Sutton before the season. You were like, Sutton? Are you kidding me? Sutton and Garcelle have carried the whole season.
I'm
And
still
Steele
judging
said
your
Kyle.
decision.
Steele said Kyle, and,
Yeah.
and Steele's like, I don't even know if I can watch Kyle on TV anymore.
Really?
I have taken a okay. So if you like, I think last time I said like Kyle's my number one.
Yep.
Opposite end of the spectrum now. So when I think housewives, I will say I don't like Teresa at all. I think that she's annoying to watch. But when I think housewives, I do think Teresa, and I think that that's probably more like saying more about our background of Bravo. Like before I really got into it, I still knew who Teresa Giudice was.
Yeah. Same.
Whereas the other housewives I wasn't as familiar with. Now, as far as like my queen, probably Karen Huger, because I just love her. I love watching her. I love everything about her. I love Ray is just an enigma to me. Like he cracks me up every time he's on the screen. Their relationship, I Potomac is my favorite by far. So yeah, I would say Karen for sure is probably my queen.
I think I have to agree with you guys with Teresa because I'm thinking, okay, who are like the big breakout, like queens of the housewives? It would be like Vicky, who's no longer on our show, Bethany, who's no longer on our show, Nene, who's no longer on our show. People would probably say Lisa Vanderpump from Beverly Hills, or you could argue Kyle. I think Kyle's still up for that role because she's the only standing OG and she's been pretty consistent throughout the series, but I think Teresa probably has brought more depth and storyline and given so much that I think it would probably have to go to Teresa. Only because I think Potomac is still kind of new. Like the ones that are still in like their, newer days, they don't feel like they've fully been grandfathered in just yet. I'm curious to see how Ultimate Girls Trip Season 3 kind of comes out with all of those newer shows because we have Miami, we have Potomac, we have Salt Lake City. So I'll be curious to see how that plays out. But yeah, I'd probably say Teresa is probably like the queen of housewives, in my opinion.
She's the most recognizable, I think. If you ask people that don't really know Bravo that well, they would probably still be like, even if you showed them a picture, like, do you know who this is? They'd be like, oh yeah, I've seen her around. Whereas if you showed them pictures of other franchises and their celebrities, they would know like the Beverly Hills crew because of like Lisa Rinna. Obviously, people know who she is. And Diana Jenkins, I didn't know who she was, but apparently she knows everybody. So I think that unbiasedly, people would probably recognize Teresa more so.
But I also think Kyle's a strong contender because not only has she been an OG since day one, but she just in terms of like mainstream recognizability, like she had an acting career before. She's getting back into acting now. She's starring in Halloween with Jamie Lee Curtis. She's the wealthiest or the wealthiest on the current cast because I think Lisa Vanderpump probably still made the most, but she's the wealthiest on the current cast. And like, is still recognizable because of her affiliation with like the Hiltons and, the Three Sisters. And so I think I would probably say Kyle Richards is a strong number 2.
I think you're right, even regardless of my feelings for her now. But I think
I still love Kyle. I love Kyle.
I can't. I tried, man. I tried to defend her. I tried so long and shoot her like would even look at me a certain way, like you're really going to. And finally one day I was like, I can't do it anymore. Like the bullying I've seen is just brutal. I had to be out on her.
See, I think though that people take these shows too seriously. It's reality TV. A lot of it's meant to be campy. A lot of it's meant to be, it's not meant to be taken so deeply. Like everyone was so offended about the Kathy Hilton tequila thing. And I'm like, do you really think Kathy Hilton needs a tequila promotion? Every scene she's gotten on the show so far after she held out because she wanted more money that she didn't need. And every scene we get with Kathy Hilton, she's promoting her tequila. We're constantly seeing it. We saw in that same scene at the hat store that Lisa Rinna and Kyle both took shots of Kathy's tequila. So I was just like, those are the petty, like Lisa Rinna going up and ordering 818 tequila. Like, those are the petty things we used to live for in the earlier days. You know, I think even back in like season 1, season 2, season 3, like we had, you know, Taylor Armstrong's domestic abuse. We had Russell committing suicide. We had Camille outing that on national television. We have Kim Richards in the deep days of her, you know, alcoholism. And we were still able to get through those storylines, which were very dark. Watching Teresa go to prison and say goodbye to her daughters and having the, you know, Joe stay at home knowing that he sent his wife to prison. Like, Housewives has been so much darker that I think it's just more of our perception of the shows that we hold these women to so much stronger like a moral compass that we don't cast them on these shows for. You know what I mean? Like, we're not putting Ramona on television because we think she's an upstanding citizen. We're putting her on television because she's a hot fucking mess and we're here to laugh at her. You know what I mean? We don't like what she does, but it's just, you know, I think when we put our personal feelings into it, and I get it, like we've invested in Housewives because we've been watching a lot of them for so long that we feel this emotional attachment to them. But for me, I always try to watch it from just a lens of like, as if I were watching, you know, an episode of Desperate Housewives on television, you know? And I think even these women play up a heightened version of themselves because when you're on camera, you have no other option but to play up a heightened version of yourself. You know, as much as you want to base it in reality, I just think we've started to take these shows way too seriously considering, I mean, even on Atlanta, Phaedra and Portia and the candy thing, like that was dark, you know? And yet here we are in these... And yet people are freaking out about, you know, She by Sheree, and she launched a new clothing line, and it was, you know, clothes that we find on Shein, and they're taking that so seriously. And I'm just like, guys, it's not that deep. Like, these are women that are here to entertain us, not to teach us a lesson in what it means to be, you know, a moral citizen in society.
Yeah, but do you think that, and to your point, because we had those dark moments and those dark seasons in the past, that now we don't really have that? I mean, the darkest things that we can think of right now, it's like Jen Shah and I guess Erica. There's not a whole lot in every franchise. It seemed like every franchise had something like that was kind of dark, that made you really watch and just watch somebody struggle through it. Now we don't really have anything like that. So people are getting kind of tired of maybe not the lighthearted stuff, but they're wasting their energy on digging deeper than it really needs to go because they don't have that big, dark, ominous cloud over every franchise that they're used to seeing. So now they have more energy to attack the pettiness of Rinna versus Kathy and to go after, you know, Teresa because she like called Marge fat or something, like talked about her wearing her clothes, like things like that people just blast off on because they don't really have anything else to go after. I think that might be part of it.
Yeah, but I also am like, but why aren't we watching, like, people love watching true crime documentaries on Netflix, and yet they're not projecting that sort of hostility or nastiness towards like criminals and murderers, you know, but yet you're gonna trash a housewife because what, she took a petty jab at a tequila on Bravo. Like, it's to me, I'm like, guys, it's not that serious. Let's watch it from a lighthearted, fun lens. And listen, I get it, some of the storylines are a little heavier, are a little darker, but I just think, like, let's get the fun, like, let's put the fun back in Housewives. Reality TV should be fun, you know what I mean? It was way worse and it was way darker back in the day on just like a lot of shows. You look at like what, you know, these former like dating shows used to be. I just did a deep dive into Rock of Love, which used to air back on VH1, and how those women were awful towards each other. They would constantly call each other sluts and hoes and whores, and they would get into fist fights with each other. Bad Girls Club used to be popular at that time. That I'm just like, how did we go from like that being okay to now, you know, we think ordering 818 tequila is considering bullying to Kathy Hilton, who has all the money and resources in the world, held out so that she could get more money. And I guess I've dived into the Hilton family, and I also kind of heard some stuff about what she really said in Aspen and the things that I've heard her say about Kyle, that I'm like, I don't think Kathy Hilton is the good person that everyone thinks that she is, which is why I loved this most recent episode of Beverly Hills, because I thought it was so haunting and chilling at the end when we get the text messages and Rinna's kind of narrating it. It just, I don't know. I can ride for Beverly Hills, though. That's still my favorite to this day. And I know that's a controversial take.
So there's a few things. So I do think that your argument is probably the most well thought out to why you're defending Beverly Hills. First and foremost, we haven't really taken a stance on Kathy. We're not big Kathy fans here, one way or the other. We've heard that there's some pretty damning things that are potentially coming out. So we've kind of stayed back and not jumped on that bandwagon where everyone's saying like, oh, Kathy's so fun. Kathy's this, Kathy, like she's this and that. We're kind of waiting to see what happened. We really haven't discussed her a lot. We kind of just stepped away from it, but until we see what's going to happen next. As far as the tequila thing goes, I didn't think that was that big of a deal either. Like, it's just like a shitty thing to do for Marina. Like, sure. Like, is it a bitchy move? 100%. Is it the end of the world? Absolutely not. And it seemingly sparks whatever we're going to see next week. My issue is the moments where it's just flat out bullying. It's not fun. Like when Sutton's sobbing and Kyle
I didn't
is
like that
grabbing
scene.
her arm and she's like, don't be so dramatic. It's like, dude, just let her go. Like she just got reamed out in front of the whole group and no one said a fucking word. Then now you're going to tell her not to be dramatic and she's upset. Like it's just that. And then the
I think Sutton's a little sensitive though.
standard.
Like if Kim Richards took some beatings and Kim Richards barked hard like she was a pit bull and she would get in your face.
I'm not saying that Sutton's not sensitive. I'm not saying that she,
I think Sutton has a big bark. Sometimes. Sutton has a big bark and she comes hard. And then when the reaction comes back at her, she kind of, squabbles.
It's more so like there's unwarranted reactions when she gets dragged into the middle of something where she's not really a part of it. And then like does she insert herself in certain places where she shouldn't? Sure.
Yeah.
But everybody does that. She's not the only one doing it. It's just that she gets such a worse beating than the other ones do, to the point where then you see, like, I was so stoked when I saw like Kyle and Dorit at odds, and they're at odds with Erica, like the Fox Force Fives, like break. I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, this is what I want to see. I want to see the jabs. I want to see the petty shit, but I want it to be not the same people against the same people all the time. That's where we have our issues with Beverly Hills. It's like, we're watching this shit over and over again, and our opinions are going to become more serious if we're seeing this shit week in and week out, because we have to continue to comment on it. And it's like, if they're going to continue to bully Sutton 7 episodes in a row, then our comments are going to get more serious about it, because it's like, dude, fucking just stop. 1, it's not entertaining, and 2, we get it, you don't fucking like her, like leave her alone.
No, I think that's what made this most recent episode the most compelling, is we had Kyle and Dorit, and then we had Kyle and Erica. And these are long-standing friendships, right? And these are real friendships. So I like seeing the conflict, because to me, that's a lot more real. To me, that's why it's harder when we integrate these newer housewives like Sutton, Garcelle, and Crystal. And I think that's why they feel like they're on the outside, is because these other women have been on the show for so long that they have such a deeper relationship and a deeper friendship that, like, think about it. If you guys were on a reality show, you had some newbie that came onto the show that was starting to like poke at one of you guys, like, wouldn't you feel defensive of each other because you guys have a stronger, deeper relationship, and this newbie's coming in and kind of poking and prodding? And I think, again, Sutton has a big bark, and she just doesn't have as strong enough of a backbone. I think Garcelle definitely has a strong backbone. She just doesn't have a strong storyline. So that's why I wouldn't say she's a queen for me. But listen, but I enjoy all of them on the show. Even when I dislike something that they're doing, like, I still think Kathy Hilton is enjoyable on the show. I think she's probably a monster off of the show, and the things that I've heard about her don't make her sound any greater. But I think she's fun to watch on the show. And I think all of these women, when we look at it from a lens of entertainment, I think it can be enjoyable as long as we just kind of look at it as that it's not that serious at the end of the day. And I know it's hard because now we're bringing in like deeper, storylines with like the Girardi Key stuff and, the former clients that are coming forward, and that kind of makes it dark. And sometimes people want Erica to have more compassion. And I agree, that's a bit hard to watch. But I mean, listen, I'm still about, let's bring the fun back into Housewives. I'm ready for.
We don't stand shame
shit
here, okay? There's no stand shaming coming from us. You stand for who you stand for.
Support who you
support.
I think it should be a support. I don't think we should stan anyone. I stan the show, but I think what it is culturally we're kind of done with the model of Housewives, and I think that's why it feels so fatiguing, and that's why we're taking it so seriously. Is we've watched it for over 15 years now, that it's like at some point I think Bravo just needs to start introducing us to newer content, such as the Paris, the Girls in Paris, Real Girls in Paris. Is that what it's called?
Real Girlfriends.
Real Girlfriends of Paris. Yeah. See, and I think that's like, I mean, some people hate it, but I think, listen, let's mix it up and let's see what content is going to be, because Housewives is not going to be around for another 5 years. Housewives won't be here in 10 years.
They need to usher in sort of like a new era of housewife shows or something like that, because they're losing the younger generations. Like our generation isn't really connecting too much with these. I mean, we still love watching it, but we're not really connecting a whole lot with, 50-year-old women, 60-year-old women as much as we would, 25-year-old women. And obviously they're younger than us. But Steele and I talked about it on our show. Like, some of the stuff that they talk about resonates with us because we've gone through it in the last couple of years. Some of the stuff that they talk about in the Housewives show, we're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, we're so out of touch with all of that,
Yeah.
that they need to start catering towards the younger generations
Right.
if they want to keep viewers. Because if people start dropping off, like you said, they're getting tired of the Housewives show just coming on and coming off and going on. And it's the same storyline every year, same dynamic pretty much across the board with all the franchises. They need to do something like Real Girlfriends in Paris. Now, that might not last. People might get tired of it, but they need to just kind of experiment out. And they have the resources to just do whatever the hell they want. And that's what we want to see, is just them trying to at least reach out to us and show us, look, we're going to have something on TV that's going to be a little bit more lighter, whimsical. It's not going to be, oh, the sky's falling every episode because somebody's bullying somebody else. So it'll keep us engaged, and that's what we want to see. Now, I do want to touch on one thing. You said if Steele and I had a reality show, if somebody came in and was just poking at us, if he came in and he started poking at Steele, I'd probably poke along. Steele deserves it.
100%. I would be me versus those two.
And that's the difference between two straight men and a group of women.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, that's fair. I think you're probably right. I don't know, but you're probably right.
Because women can be a lot. When you're a Real Housewife, they put you on that show because you're petty, and you're gonna, get into the heat of it.
The thing, Zach, as two straight dudes, we have to be very careful how we talk about this.
Yes. Yes. And you guys have done well. I mean, I feel like, people are really enjoying the podcast.
Yeah, we try to be respectful to everybody. We want everybody and anybody to come listen. That's why, we say that's our intro to the show is so bland, I think. And it was like the first thing that I thought of when we were doing it. Like, welcome back to another episode of the BravBros, from the bros for everybody, for whoever wants to listen. But it's kind of become like a moniker, I guess, where it started out like our first episode. I didn't know what the fuck to say. I was like, blah. And it just, it's kind of stuck. So that's like, I guess kind of what we stand by is like, yeah, we're BravBros, but like anybody can be a BravBro. Guy, girl, whomever wants to be a BravBro, you're one of us. Come on in.
I love it. And Steele, to your point about Real Girlfriends in Paris, I feel like, because I've seen a lot of like traditional Bravo fans kind of like throw some heat their way. But I think what I noticed with you is you kind of came into the show. You came into the show with like an open mind and kind of like wanting to like be like, let's see what the show is all about, and let's see if it's going to be anything, if it's going to be good or not. And I think you guys have built like an appreciation for it, knowing it's not comparable to Housewives, but it can be like just lighthearted TV that doesn't have to be, that I think not enough people are giving it that open mind, being like, I'm not going to compare it, but let me give it a try and let me see if I can have it on in the background while I'm kind of cooking dinner.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what everyone's going to have to do with this new generation of Bravo shows that's going to come out. And we've talked about it a little bit on our show, just how important it is like to Bravo as the network for these next few show ideas to kind of hit. Yeah. And I think what we're going to see, if they want it to go in the right direction, is to have more of a Girlfriends in Paris model, have more of a Summer House model be the main thing, or like, and maybe that's why they're pushing Winter House more. But if you start to lean into, I guess, like Southern Charm, Summer House, Girlfriends in Paris, like that sort of setup versus the Housewives setup, I think is more relatable to our generation, because it's younger people in a house together partying. They're having weird relationships with each other. They're looking for jobs. Like, they're trying to like start some stuff. And I think that this generation specifically can relate to all of that so well, because, these past 5 years or so have been tough on a lot of people. So we can kind of resonate with watching some shit that like people are struggling, versus the allure that is, the Housewives franchise, where that still, I think, has a place if they can figure out how to kind of change it, because that is why people got into those shows. It's like, holy shit, look at all this money, luxury, wealth. Wow. So I think that if they just kind of understand what they need to put out there a little bit more,
just give us like a balance or something.
Yeah. I think what they need to do is scrap all the current Housewives shows and pivot over to the Housewives legacy model, where you bring back some of the most favorite Housewives and we kind of do like a limited run of where they are today, because we know what they're doing it with New York. And I think if you bring some of like those top housewives together, not all of them are going to do it, obviously, but like kind of like a look back and kind of have them get together after all these years. Some of like the pivotal, whoever we would consider like the OG, or not the OGs, but like the, you know, the reigning queens of that particular franchise, similar to like what we're doing with New York. We're bringing them all together. We're kind of going to see them check in with each other and see where their lives are now. That way we kind of get to check in with them, see where they're at now. But I just think the longevity of some of these shows now. I mean, I think Potomac can go on. Salt Lake City might be able to go on a bit. Miami might have a little bit of legs. But I think some of these older ones like Atlanta and New York, even Beverly Hills, like I think at some point we kind of just need to scrap that model and pivot. Because I think what Bravo was really good at and why Housewives was so successful at the beginning is it was exposure to different cultures, right? You know, that's why we liked Shaws of Sunset, and I think even Southern Charm, and even Real Housewives. We had Atlanta, New York, Beverly Hills, and it was a peek into that world and that city and what the people in those cities were like, you know. And I think if Bravo can pivot back to that, I think Paris is great. I mean, now they're trying to go more international, which I think might be a smart idea because they did Real Housewives of Dubai, which was a total flop. But now we have Girlfriends in Paris. Did you guys like Dubai at all? I thought it was trash, and I got heat for saying that it's trash.
We hate it.
It's just not.
No,
it's
we
just
talked.
not
We
good.
talked about Girlfriend in Paris, just saying like the allure of Paris is going to be everything that Dubai wasn't. Dubai was a dud for us. We watched, I think, the first 2 episodes, and then I came back. My fiance was watching it. She's like, "Yeah, it was kind of interesting tonight." And then the next episode was just complete dud. We didn't even bother really watching the reunion.
I mean,
there wasn't anything to do.
The ratings said it all. Their finale bombed. They had their finale aired on the week that Beverly Hills did not air, so they didn't even have a lead in.
Oh,
and
wow.
it bombed. It got less than the week prior. And I'm like, when do you have a finale that does less than the episode before the finale?
Mhm.
A one episode finale.
Yeah.
What do you think they're going to do with it though? Because I mean, I
They're
think
bringing it
Ion
back.
is really the only redeemable housewife on that show. I mean, everybody else can kind of just go if they can figure out a place for Ion somewhere, maybe Ultimate Girls Trip or
See, but
something like that.
Here's the thing: is that's what everybody thought about Caroline Stanbury coming on here. They're like, she was the only one that was good from Ladies of London.
Okay.
And then you put her in this other formula of Dubai, and she really didn't shine. I think the problem with Ion, I think she's great, but I also think she's too reality TV savvy that we don't really get to see her outside of her character, if that makes sense. And I think it's fun for the first season, but I think eventually it might end up biting her in the butt down the line. I mean, that's to
I honestly
say,
just thought that her personality was that. I mean, she did a good job of portraying her character if that's what she was doing.
I just felt like there was too much of a trope. There was too much of a, let me deliver a line, let me play up this character. To me, it felt like she knew Housewives a little too much, that she was playing it up for the cameras a little too hard. Maybe that was just me being a little too judgmental because after the first episode of Dubai, I was like, what a flop. Because we were all so excited about Dubai. And it just totally bombed.
Yeah, no, I think we covered it for 3 weeks, and then we just said, you know what, this isn't worth our time or your time as listeners. Like, it ain't it. And they leaned on like Shooter touched on, they tried to lean so heavy into like, look at Dubai, like it's so luxurious and like a different world, and it fell so short after like the first episode. I'm like, yeah, we get it, we're in Dubai, but like these ladies don't even really know each other. Stanberry's like phoning it in. She could give 2 shits about being on the show. I agree with Shooter. I really enjoyed Ion. Could she be playing it up? Absolutely. But you know, we like to use sports references a lot. Like you got to get better as seasons go on. Like if you have a tough year or if you learn from it, you come back better the next season. So I think that she has the highest ceiling as the housewives on that show. Like you could easily bring her into like an Ultimate Girls scenario. And I think she'd be great because one, like she'd be over the top, but she also might get checked by some of the older housewives that have been around for longer. They'll be like, whoa, you're going to try to be iconic to like Dorinda or to like Teresa, they're going to shut you down so fast. So I think that she has some room to learn, but I think that she has some upward mobility here.
Yeah, and I think she can I think she can spar with the OGs. I think she has the backbone. Sutton could never, but she has the backbone that she could actually go toe to toe with some of these OGs, and she could do it. Like Teresa would eat Sutton alive, but I think Ayan would really be able to hold her own.
I do too.
I agree.
Thank you guys for coming back on No Filter.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
This
yeah.
was fun.
Great.
You guys
love
are
it
always
here.
a blast to chat with. Everybody needs to go and subscribe to BravBros. You guys are available on all podcast platforms, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And what are your Instagram and TikTok handles?
We are at Brav_Bros on Instagram and Twitter, and on TikTok we are at BravBros, no underscore.
There we go. I love it. Do you want to shout out your personal handles, or you're like, no, stay out of the
Yeah, they'll
DMs?
find us if they want to
It's
find us.
fine.
We don't-
Yeah, no, just BravBros. Just Brav. They creep in eventually, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Steel, Shooter, thank you guys so much. And thank you guys for listening to Hashtag No Filter with Zack Peter. Lots more content to come. We just launched our YouTube memberships. So if you want to subscribe for that, you can click the link in the description below. Lots of exclusive behind the scenes vlogs, exclusive live streams where we really spill some extra tea that I can't reveal on the podcast. Maybe I'll get more into some of the tea that I teased in today's episode with the BravBros. But if you want to follow me, you can give me a follow at Just Plain Zach. If you don't give a shit about me, but you want all the latest reality TV tea, then follow the show at No Filter with Zach. And be sure to stock up on some Housewives Watching Wine at nofilterwine.com. It's 13% alcohol by volume, less than a gram of sugar. Please be 21 or older to order and sip responsibly, but hopefully you are enjoying the last of your summer as we go into fall and we head into Scary Island. It's time to rewatch some of those old Real Housewives of New York episodes so we can channel. Or we have to get ready for Kyle in Halloween Ends. Halloween's coming. All right, love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.